Hello Die Fam, we are here and checking out the DSR Mech Frame for the first time. We're going to be installing this on a fresh new gun. Here out of the box you got that blackout copper. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and remove the foregrip by loosening up the bottom lock tab. As you'll see here, we're going to go ahead and remove the 5/64 Allen keys that hold the front of the grips on. Although these come with your gun stock, they are not absolutely required during gameplay, but nonetheless they need to be removed, so that's what you'll see here. As we move through those, we're going to pop the grips off and we're going to release the front and back frame screw. We're going to go ahead and remove the bolt, and remove the 3 32nd Allen keys, locate the front frame screw, loosen that up, and then get the one that comes right down through the top, loosen that up, and then your frame will split apart due to the wireless connectivity between the frame and body. From there, we're going to go ahead and take the on-off air port off. There's 2 3 32nd Allen key screws that are on either side of the on-off air port. We're going to go ahead and remove those 2 screws. And then the ASA will just slide right off. Now we are left with the electronic frame, which we can set aside. From there, we're going to go ahead and remove the 4 solenoid screws that hold the electronic solenoid in place. And then next, we are going to go ahead and remove the solenoid connector from the front circuit board. We're going to go ahead and set that solenoid aside. And here we have the DSR Mech Frame. We're going to go ahead and open this up, and you will see we have 3 bags included with the frame. One includes the electronic trigger and all components necessary for the swap. The second includes solenoid posts, solenoid spacers, and grip screws. And the third has spare O-rings, in which we can set aside. Now let's take the mech frame out and begin with the install. Check it out. Dang, she's pretty. All right, so we've got the solenoid quick release posts. We're gonna go ahead and get those installed. These just need to be finger tight and not super snug, just down to the point where they stop turning. As you can see, they have post sides. If they do not line up and go through a hole on the new DSR Mech solenoid block, go ahead and find the right hole. From there, you're literally just going to install the frame onto the gun, reinstall your front and back frame screw. With the grips removed, we're going to move into the reassembly of the on-off air port and regulator assembly. From there, you have your pre and post travel adjustment. You also have your magnetic adjustment on the bottom side of the trigger. You're going to slip your grips around the outside, clipping the front lower areas first. Reinstall your 2 screws if you prefer, and you're going to install your foregrip on, and that's the DSR Plus Mech Frame install. All right, installing the DSR eMech trigger assembly. What you're going to do is obviously use your single trigger that is backwards compatible to fit all your electronics into it. You're going to reverse the same thing that you just did by removing your bolt, take your screws out to get your grip frame off, and then we are going to pull the trigger assembly and solenoid assembly out of the grip frame. And to do so, you want to remove the 4 screws as shown here. In doing that, the entire trigger assembly will come out, and with a gentle push from below, you can then remove the mechanical solenoid block from your frame. You will then remove the 1 Phillips head screw, which will allow you to remove the rubber plug from the back of your frame. This is where your OLED screen will go. Now let's grab the stock DSR Plus electronic frame with all components inside. Let's remove the Phillips head screw that holds the top connector board to the frame. At this point, you'll remove the 2 screws that hold your electronic circuit board in. You'll remove the 1 Phillips head screw that holds the OLED screen cover. And carefully remove the joystick and joystick grommet by gently pulling it out. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and remove the OLED screen and circuit board out of the frame. In doing so, we want to be very gentle with removing the circuit board to make sure that we don't destroy or damage any of the pins that connect the circuit board to the OLED screen itself. We're going to go ahead and remove that top frame connector, feed it back down through the frame, and then go ahead and pop your circuit board straight out of your marker. Remember, anytime you're having troubles with this, do not force anything. Everything does like to come out nice and easy. Now we are going to do this in reverse order, installing the parts back into the single trigger frame. From here, we're going to go ahead and install the toolless solenoid block. What this does is allow you to install the solenoid into the marker without having to have those pesky screws to hold the solenoid in. We're going to go ahead and slide it in. It does key in from the top with that small ridge on the right side. Simply press it in until it's flush. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the circuit board by taking the wire ribbon, putting it up through the top, making sure not to pinch or get it in the way of anything, no hard bends or turns. Press the circuit board back into the marker, reinstall your 2 screws that hold the circuit board onto the frame. Now we're going to go ahead and carefully install the OLED circuit board back into the back of the frame by simply just sliding it into place, and make sure to gently connect the pins from the back of the circuit board into the OLED screen. From here, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the joystick and gasket back into the frame, making sure it makes positive contact. Reinstall your OLED screen cover, replace it with your Phillips head screw. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the mechanical safety and put the electronic safety plug into the frame. We're going to go ahead and move that spring and ball back, hold it in place, slide the mechanical safety out, and put the electronic plug back into the frame. This leads into installing the single trigger into the mech frame. We're going to go ahead and remove the spring that comes with your standard frame, slide it onto the back of the trigger, and then locate the single trigger into the mech frame. In doing so, you'll simply move the trigger forward and slide the spring onto the pocket that it sits in. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, get it. Here we're going to go ahead and install the small screw that has the O-ring on it that holds the front connector board to the front of the frame. That is an isolator O-ring to make sure it doesn't ground out. We're going to go ahead and install the top and bottom pre and post travel screws that allow the trigger adjustment to take place. And then next, we're going to go ahead and line up and install the trigger pin. When installing for the first time, make sure that this trigger pin goes in and is flush with the inside of the body. So from here, we're going to make sure that the trigger actuates the micro switch, slide the on-off ASA back on, reassemble the 2 screws, making sure that they're snug. We will now install the stock electronic solenoid that comes with the DSR Plus. There is a spare spacer that comes with your kit that you can put onto the electronic solenoid to make your electronic solenoid completely toolless. First, we're going to go ahead and start with the front connector, get that put in that front main connector board. Once that's done, we're going to slide the solenoid over the post, as well as make sure that our solenoid retention gasket or spacer gasket is installed on the bottom of the frame. From there, we simply need to line up the front board on the frame to the front connector board, making sure not to pinch, or make sure that all your wires are clear, and then install the front and back frame screws. Reinstall your bolt kit, put your 9-volt battery in, slide your foregrip on, slide your grips over, and reinstall your front grip screws. From here, we're going to go ahead and turn the marker on and test to make sure that we hear our solenoid click. Once this is done, you are ready to get into action. This will conclude our assembly and disassembly of the DSR Plus mech frame. We do appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on any of our social channels or simply at service@dieprecision.com. Thank you.